So, that's how we got here. Tien explained, lifting Launch out of the drift by her shoulders. Makes sense. Goku recovered Dende and Mr. Popo by the backs of their shirts, placing them on the ground next to him. Hey, I'm glad you're alright. You guys did really well. This is a victory to be proud of. Thanks, Tien smiled. That means a lot coming from you. Alright, let's get everyone to the lookout. When Dende wakes up, he can heal everybody. Then there's somebody you all should meet. Things began to move quickly. As soon as Dende was conscious, he healed the group in the north, who then proceeded back to the lookout. Gohan, Videl, Zarbon, and Kuriza were quickly healed too. Tarble was somewhat shell-shocked at the moment and hadn't come back to his senses yet. And shortly, Dr. Mew emerged. Hello, he said deferentially, bowing slightly. Hey, lighten up a little. Krillin smiled, shaking his head. No need for that. Goku says you're a good guy, and that's enough for me. Mew looked questioningly at Goku, who nodded. Thank you, though I'm not sure if you're correct. If you don't mind, can I ask you? He indicated the humans. As natives of this planet, are these Super Saiyans anything like the bloodthirsty Saiyans that slaughtered my people? Yamcha shook his head emphatically. No way! I trust Goku with my own life. Known him since he was a kid. Same goes for his brother, but, His speech became quieter. He isn't with us anymore. In fact, Krillin added, if you're talking about natives of the planet, you should count Goku and Gohan here with us. Nurture over nature. They're as human as any of us. Videl grinned. I couldn't even tell Gohan was an alien at first. Mew was startled. Such devotion. This friendship runs deep. At last, he raised his head. I see, looking in your eyes. I believe you speak the truth. But in the back of my mind, there's still a voice, screaming for revenge. Killing them won't be avenging your people. These two are nothing like the ones you hate so much. They saved my planet, too. Dende said, approaching the group. That was when the Super Saiyan first appeared. A Namekian, Mew realized. They're known throughout the universe. A wise, peaceful race, truly admirable. If one of them, even a child, vouches for these Saiyans, that decides it. Difficult as it is. He clenched his fists, trying to drown out the inner cry for vengeance. I apologize for the pain I have caused you. You are truly fortunate to have found such a planet to inhabit, and its natives are fortunate to have protectors like you. He turned sharply away. However, it still discomforts me to look at you. Your existence feels wrong. I wish it were not so. He shut his eyes, trying to calm himself. I cannot stay here. Not so close to you. Goku shrugged. You need to leave the planet? I'm sure you can use that ship, though Bulma might get annoyed about having to keep building these things. No, not that far away. Where would I go? My homeworld. Our homeworld is dust now. Freeze us all to that. And this is a beautiful planet. Besides, from what I've seen of humans so far, what they've shaped you into, it's uplifting. Mew turned to Dende. May I live in this place? It is your home, I gather, whereas the rest live down on the surface. That's right, Dende confirmed. I'm sure Mr. Popo wouldn't mind being able to finally exercise those cooking skills he's always talking about. Nameks only require water, you see. I'm afraid he'll have to wait, Mew replied. I require no such sustenance. However, I will be happy to assist you in your duties as guardian in any way I can. Think of it as paying my rent. He cracked a tiny smile at his own joke. Don't worry, you're always welcome here. Cool. Goku looks slightly shifty all of a sudden. Look, Dende? Chi-Chi would bite my head off if she knew Gohan got beaten up in a fight again. Thanks for healing us up, but Kami could always materialize small items. If you have the same ability, could you fix up our clothes? We can just say his ship broke down and we had to go pick him up or something. Dende suppressed a laugh. Alright, I think I can manage that. Mr. Popo's been teaching me a lot about what I can do thanks to his time working with Kami. He raised one hand, magical energy glowing softly around it. So it shouldn't be too hard. Hold still a second. So apparently, Bulma says Goku paused, chewing thoughtfully as his brain fumbled for the word, not noticing that he chewed straight through his fork. It was an achievement for Chi-Chi that he was even using cutlery at all. Gohan didn't know either, but made a wild guess. The flux capacitor in the 40-watt range. Right, that. Goku nodded. Nice save. Yeah, it broke. Old model. She forgot to replace it before he left. I knew she shouldn't have let him leave in such a rush. Chi-Chi shook her head. At least the trip went well. An eyebrow raised skeptically. Didn't it? Oh, yeah! Gohan said enthusiastically, now telling the truth. I learned plenty about aliens, how the old empires turned out since we went to Namek, a cool new technique. Lots to put down in my book. But is all that really relevant to teaching people ki control? Goku wondered. Well, it's sort of two halves. One is that, yeah, but the other is a complete account of our adventures. Well, mostly complete. Yes, you said. His mother remembered. No mentioning the Dragon Balls, or Saiyans, or the other aliens living with us. Right. Not the Dragon Balls? Goku asked through a rapidly disappearing mouthful of noodles. But then how are you going to explain how we fixed everything that Cell did? I guess we can't explain everything, Gohan shrugged. People will be unhappy if they don't know the whole truth, but we can't risk something like that being public knowledge. There's a lot of people out there who we really don't want getting their every wish granted. We just have to do our best, make as much of the truth known as possible for now. Maybe someday the world will be ready for the rest. The next day, Goku idly wandered the halls of Capsule Corp, slowly honing in on the small key source he'd been looking for. His face brightened up when he rounded the corner, finally finding her. Hey, Bulma! He tossed her the capsule containing the spaceship. Just came to give this back. Thanks. Oh, Goku. His old friend smiled wearily, catching the miniaturized ship. Yamcha said you were back. How'd it go? Fine. He paused. Well, no, not really. Vegeta's dead. Bulma shrugged. Good riddance. Well, I shouldn't feel bad. I know I shouldn't, but I do. He sighed, trying to explain. Deep down, he was an honorable warrior, and I respected that. He was driven to do terrible things by the way his life turned out, and I can't help but feel sorry for all that wasted potential. What he could have been. What do you mean? There was good in him? Sure, in a way. I mean, if I'd never come to Earth, I'd have been just like him. So I guess there's that kind of potential in everybody. We all could have been somebody else, had things been different. What, if he'd been sent here instead of you? Had the same experiences? She asked. That's a weird thought. But I think at a basic level, that's a bit of what makes you, you. You can't completely change it. We're lucky we got you, Goku. Still, I can't help wonder. Could he have been different? Happier? Had a family? Something to fight for? You're fantasizing. You always want a happy ending for everybody. We don't live in a fairy tale, Goku. I know. He turned to leave. Thanks, Bulma. I just needed to get that off my chest. The universe feels emptier somehow now. I know why. Goku stopped at Bulma's voice. It's obvious. There are less and less pure Saiyans left. You're a dying race. Yeah, that's right. Goku said quietly, realizing. Nappa died soon after we met him. Raditz is gone. Turles, Paragus, Broly, and Vegeta all died within a few days of each other. Now there's just me and Tarble. Vegeta's brother? How is he anyway? The previous day, Dr. Mew had ascended to the inner depths of the lookout. Dende had fixed up everyone's appearance. Everyone was about to depart. Then Tarble descended the steps of the ship. His hair was ruffled, his armor dirtied, his scouter cracked, but thanks to being healed earlier, he was himself completely intact. Hello? He said nervously, waving a greeting. I heard you talking. Is my brother here? Where's Vegeta? I'm sorry. He didn't make it, Goku said gravely. Oh. Tarble didn't seem upset. You're not? Gohan began. Well, I guess I'm a little sad. The small Saiyan shrugged. It's not that I don't care, but I was sent away at such a young age that I never really knew my family. Apparently I was too weak and didn't have any fighting spirit. I guess it's true that I've never liked fighting. Say, he peered at Goku and Gohan. You're Saiyans too, aren't you? Sort of, Dende answered. They're not like the ones you knew at all, though. We kinda just got through explaining this. The Tuffle. Yes, I heard. Tarble smiled, his tail twitching happily. I'm glad that not all of us have to be bloodthirsty killers. It means I haven't failed any kind of test just for not liking fighting. You really don't fight at all? Nope, Tarble said happily, treating it as an achievement. Haven't thrown a punch in my life. I see. He leaned back, whispering to Gohan. Okay, that is odd for a Saiyan. You've met me, haven't you? Gohan whispered back. Well, in any case, do you have a home anywhere that you'd like to be returned to? Nail said, trying to steer the conversation back on course. Not really. I was just drifting from planet to planet when the Tuffles found me, Tarble replied. But I am sad that one still disliked us, even after all that. Hate is such a terrible thing. He really is the real deal, Nail decided. Pacifist, optimist, a rare specimen indeed. Well, some things are ingrained deep. Mew's gonna have to deal with his problems on his own. Nope, I don't think so. Tarble grinned. What? Zia! He said he was going to the innermost chamber, right? Tarble promptly broke into a run, heading for the lookout's entrance. What the? Krillin scratched his head. He only just got here. What does he think he's doing? What do you think you're doing? Dr. Mew heard the footsteps as Tarble entered the dimly lit chamber. He saw the Saiyan sit opposite him. I still resent your kind. I cannot guarantee your safety here. I came to be alone for a reason. Tarble nodded. I know. You spent your life with hate on your mind. Hate is a terrible thing. Mew's brow wrinkled. Again, just what exactly are you doing? Changing your mind. A year later. Goku landed in the familiar surroundings of Capsule Corp. Gohan was already here, giving Videl a tour of the place. But that wasn't what he was here for. As a year ago, Bulma had called. And now and then, she'd sounded worried. Again, she'd been vague about the details, but he wasn't about to leave his oldest friend in the lurch. What is it? He asked, finding her sunbathing in the garden. Bulma? You said you'd be in your lab. Oh! Bulma's eyes blinked open, and she yawned, sitting up slowly. Right. Sorry, I've been distracted lately. So, what did you want? Right. She rubbed her eyes, standing up and stretching, finally becoming fully awake. Okay, I'll make it quick. Right after the whole cell thing, not long after I died and came back, I started drawing 7s everywhere. On myself, the walls, whatever. If I didn't have a pen, I'd scratch it into things. Completely subconscious, uncontrollable. She paused, making sure the fighter, sometimes slow to catch up, was following. A few months later, it became 6s. Today, exactly a year after that, she showed Goku the inside of her forearm, covered in pencil marks. 5s. 5. It's counting down, Goku. Counting years. But you said the first one wasn't a whole year, he pointed out. Right, but I reckon that's because it didn't start on exactly 7 years. It started partway through a year, and now it's counting how many years are left. Until... what? I don't know. But it worries me. Goku nodded. I didn't know you were psychic, for one thing. Exactly. Is it a premonition? Am I just going crazy? Is it some outside force sending me a message? She bent down, reaching inside a bag by her feet and pulling out some printouts. So, Dad and I ran some tests. Brain activity normal, but eventually we found it. Some kind of electromagnetic radiation. Very faint, we could only just detect it. Goku was a little lost at this point. Radiation? Like, nuclear bombs? Not quite. Now bear with me. We've been running some trials recently trying to develop a time machine like I apparently did in Break's Future. Still getting absolutely nowhere with that one, but some samples are giving off radiation similar to the kind that we're finding in my brain. Goku remained silent. Keep going. You've lost me, but you might find me again in a minute. Right. So, the radiation our pathetic attempts at time travel were giving off was similar, but not identical. Only half the pattern, actually. So I ran a search on the database, and guess what fitted the other half perfectly? No, go ahead, tell me. Bulma sighed. It was a rhetorical question. Goku shrugged. Sorry, I don't know any rhetorical answers. She paused, grinding her teeth. Never mind. She tried to remember where she'd left off. The other half of the radiation pattern matched perfectly with the EM signal given off by the Dragon Balls. The Dragon Balls give off? Of course. It's how the Dragon Radar works. So, a mix between time travel and the Dragon Balls, Goku wondered. When have we ever... Ah! The wish to Porunga! The androids! We wish for the people in the future to forget about the androids so 17 and 18 could have a normal life. Exactly. Bulma pointed at herself with her thumb. And it just so happens yours truly was spending an awful lot of time around the time machine. The one link between this timeline and that. Right around the time you made that wish. Cool! Goku smiled for a few seconds, before his train of thought finally arrived at the station. Oh, so why'd you call me here? I'm no scientist, you know. Yes, I know that very well, Mountain Man. She tapped him on the head. I'm getting to you. Sometime around Namek, you started to be able to read minds, didn't you? Yeah? Why? Did you ever find out? When exactly? Goku squinted, thinking back. It was right when Raditz and I were training in high gravity on the way to Namek. Right around the time we arrived, but everything got real complicated real fast and we never had time to stop and question it. Looking back, I think it was the first step. He nodded. we'd surpassed our normal limitations. We were starting to become Super Saiyans. I see. Can Gohan do it? No, but he's still a kid. I'm sure it'll come. Or maybe not. He is only half sane, and he really should train more, I have to say. Okay, anyway. Bulma tapped her own head. Back to the point. I need you to read my mind. Take a look in there, see what's gotten into me. Whatever this thing is, this countdown, I want to know. Alright, if you say so. I mean, if you want me looking through your thoughts, it might take me a while to find. I don't really know what I'm looking for. Goku, I trust you not to screw up my head. Just read my damn mind already! Bulma snapped. Alright, just asking. Taking a deep breath, he put his hand on the blue-haired woman's forehead, reaching out with his mind and sinking into hers. Both instantly relaxed, feeling somewhat detached from their bodies. Gohan and Videl came out of a nearby doorway, chatting loudly. You really think my hair's getting too long? Hey, I said longer, not too long, Videl laughed. I kinda like the scruffy look. I mean, you've seen my hair, right? I'd be a hypocrite if I said yours was too long. Or do you think mine would look better short? Well, Gohan personally thought that longer hair could get in the way in a fight, but now that she'd said all that, he didn't really want to voice his opinion. And besides, his uncle had been living proof that that didn't necessarily affect one's performance in battle. No, it's fine. I like it how it is. They approached, seeing the strange scene before them. And the gardens out here are... Gohan blinked. Dad? Bulma? You okay? Neither of the adults moved or responded. Videl stared. They're completely out of it. Weird. Tentatively, Goku explored Bulma's mind. Okay, get my bearings. I usually only read surface thoughts. Looking for the subconscious. It's going to be a new experience. Hey, what was that? Bulma's voice boomed from all around him as she thought the words. You do know what you're doing, don't you? Oh, right. In her mind, she can hear me too. Don't worry, Bulma. I'm not going to mess with anything. Not that I'd know how to anyway. I'm just going to look around, see if I can find whatever it is. He let himself sink deeper into her memories and recurring thoughts. Okay. No, that's family. Aw, Trunks was so cute. Still is, Bulma insisted. He's still my baby, you know? Right. Now, family. Right. Thoughts about Zarbon? Ugh, I did not want to know that. Well, what did you expect? She protested. I'm sure if you looked at Chi-Chi's mind, you'd find similar about you. Similar, maybe, but I don't think her mind works quite like... Hey. He noticed a cluster of bundled up thoughts near the large section associated with Zarbon. Almost repressed, in fact. What's this? He mentally peered inside, wondering if it might be what he was searching for, and quickly recoiled. Was that Vegeta? Really, Bulma? Hey, you don't see me prying in your brain and giving a running commentary. Now keep looking, and when you're done, not a word to anybody. Gohan studied Goku and Bulma, both still unmoving. They're not unconscious or asleep, or they wouldn't be standing up. And they're both breathing, Videl noted. Yeah. Oh! Gohan snapped his fingers. Dad's reading her mind. I don't know why, but that's definitely what it looks like. He's taking his time about it, though. He can do that. Is it safe to wake them up? Videl asked. You know, just to ask what he's doing it for? Yeah, sure, Gohan replied. I mean, it's not like a deep mind probe thing. He only ever reads surface thoughts and recent memories. Sorry this is taking so long, Goku thought aloud. The mind isn't exactly structured in a logical way. Everything's connected. But I'm getting there. I'm through to your subconscious. Basic survival drives, reflexes, instincts. Bulma inquired. As in, you might have found it? Yeah, actually. Goku reached out for what could best be described as a foreign object squatting at the base of her mind. That shouldn't be there. Doesn't look like a thought at all, actually. Gotta be it. Well, go get it! Find out what it is! Excitement edged into her voice. Strange as the situation was, she had a scientist's drive to discover. This was completely new and unknown territory. Gohan reached out to tap Goku on the arm. I'll ask him, hey Dad, what you doing? Stopping up short before they touched, he felt a sudden chill down his spine, as if he was doing something wrong. Nah, just paranoia. It's fine. He reached forwards again. I got it! Goku mentally grasped the object, scanning it with his telepathic powers. Huh? I'm seeing something. For a brief moment, he glimpsed something. Something pink. Then it was gone. and he felt himself suddenly wrenched back out of Bulma's mind, the connection abruptly broken. Contact. Gohan's finger touched his father's arm. A jolt of static electricity made him jump back, but it was too late. Images burst into his mind, like floodgates opening. He covered his head in his hands, gritting his teeth trying to block them out, but they kept coming, incoherent, flashes of color, snatches of speech. Level beyond super, this fight's been a long time coming, they're all gonna die! Gohan! No! Boo! Slowly, Gohan opened his eyes. What? His vision swam into focus. Goku, Bulma, and Videl stood over him. What happened? You were babbling. Just incoherent nonsense. Screaming almost. Bulma explained. You went Super Saiyan for a moment, then fell unconscious. Are you okay? Videl asked, her voice full of concern. I'm fine. Gohan stood up, feeling vitality return to him. I'm fine, he repeated, almost to himself. He took off, igniting his aura and rocketing back towards home. Gohan, wait! Goku called, but it was too late. He interfered somehow, he said, to which Bulma nodded. Look, Bulma frowned. That kid is anything but fine. You two should go to him. Are you alright though? Goku asked. I kinda got wrenched out of your mind suddenly. I didn't have time to break contact properly. I'm great, actually. I feel like a weight I didn't even know was there just got lifted. Somehow I don't think I'm going to be writing those numbers anymore, she smiled. But don't worry, I've got today's date written into my calendar. If something does happen in 5 years, I'll be ready. Now go. Take care of your son. And, she turned to Videl, She paused awkwardly. Were they too young for that? Your best friend. She finished, attempting a quick recovery. He needs you more than I do. However, Gohan had brushed off all attempts to further questioning with, I said I'm fine, alright? He ate dinner hurriedly, without speaking, and went to bed immediately afterwards. Sleep was no respite, though. More images flashed through his mind, just like before. Death and destruction mainly. Yet when he awoke, he could remember almost nothing of them. No specifics anyway. Just an unshakable, haunting feeling, like he'd just witnessed a tragedy. Sweating profusely, he stumbled into the bathroom to get a drink of water before trying to go back to sleep, turned on the light, and immediately did a double take. Drawn in thick pen, the familiar writing of the pen he kept by his bed in case he had a flash of inspiration for his book during the night, in fact, was a stylized letter M, right in the center of his forehead. He frantically washed it off, and went back to bed even more uneasy than when he'd woken up. Around the same time that year, a loud thump on Kamehouse's door awoke Krillin, who slept closest to it. He blearily glanced at the clock. Just past midnight. Who the hell? This had better be important. He stumbled into some pants, practically sleepwalked over to the door and swung it open, and was promptly shocked into complete wakefulness by Android 18, rushing in and collapsing on the couch. He blinked a couple of times. Pinched himself. Not dreaming. 18? Of course, he knew that there had been an evil version of the cyborg he'd come to know in this timeline, but there was no malice in her eyes. This had to be the good one. Like him, she was dressed like she'd just gotten out of bed. Didn't you and 17 go with Break? You know, to the future? 18 made a few attempts to speak, finally just nodding and falling silent. She took several deep breaths, shut her eyes, and eventually found the words. 17's dead. And maybe everyone else, or they will be dead. In that future there... She paused, time travel as always making tenses rather confusing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Krillin pulled up a stool, sitting opposite her and switching on a nearby lamp for light. Okay, tell me what happened. Well, we hadn't really been in contact with Break and the others for a long time. We'd gone our own way, found a place for ourselves. I'll leave out the details. It was a good while after we'd got there. Maybe 2 years? Hard to keep track. There had been some close scares before. Dr. Shiro's lab kept building androids, one in particular called 13 who gave us all a real beating. But we'd always come out on top. Then, one day, we'd only just woken up. We were about to go out hunting and bam! There was a flash of light, and 17's head was... gone. She bit her lip, forcing tears back. No last words or anything. A couple of seconds later, I was still in shock. Break tore through the wall, Super Saiyan, wild-eyed. Looked pretty worried. She threw me the time machine capsule and told me to get back to this timeline as soon as possible. She sat back, wiping sweat from her forehead. Oh, so Why do you think you, specifically? Krillin wondered. And why would whoever it was target you two? Well, 18 pulled out a crumpled sheet of paper she'd tucked into her waistband. When I was back in this time, I noticed this on the dashboard. I guess she wrote it on the way. Hastily scrawled on the paper, dotted abbreviations, was a message reading. New kind of android. Very strong. Too strong. Can't protect you. It might fuse with you. Get stronger? Would make sense. Cell, 13, etc. Think they got one of you. Sorry, had to destroy body. They might need you alive or dead, don't know. Destroy time machine. No past or future link. I see. Krillin put the message down. How would she know if it's a new android if she was immediately going your way? Wouldn't she only know if she'd gone to fight it? And if it was that strong, how would she survive fighting it? Look, I don't know, 18 said. I don't have any answers for you. But when someone like that tells you they can't protect you, I'm scared, Krillin. You destroyed the time machine? Yeah, I guess she was worried they'd somehow trace it through time. I don't know how that'd work, or if it's even possible. But it was the last one. Actually, I don't think that's it, Krillin suggested. Huh? I think she told you to destroy it so you'd never try and come back. He sat down next to her, looking sincere. Look, she knows you're a good person at heart. You might one day worry about her, all of them. Try to find out if they survived. And while they might stand a better chance without you two around to potentially make these new androids stronger, I'm pretty sure Break knows she isn't going to win. She wouldn't want you coming back only to get yourself killed. But 18 clenched her hands into fists, scowling. Break, Gohan, Bulma, millions of people. I can't just resign herself to the fact that they're all going to die. How could someone be so cold to make a decision like that? I know it's harsh, Krillin agreed, but you know it makes sense. Sometimes if there's a forest fire and you can't put it out, you have to cut down or even burn some of the trees at the edge of the burning part to stop it spreading to the rest of the forest. That's not the same as a whole planet full of life. He sighed. Yeah, I guess not. Maybe you're right. I don't know if there's a right answer. She did what she thought was right, and that's all we can ask. He paused, twiddling his thumbs. Do you want anything? Like a drink or something? Are you hungry or just stay here? She said, putting a hand on his arm to stop him leaving. Even in the brief time she'd known him, she remembered. It was easily the little man's most endearing quality. You could always talk to him. There wasn't an ounce of hostility or bad temper in his body. Just don't go. That's the end of Chapter 63. I'll see you in Chapter 64 in just a few seconds. Stay tuned. I just can't understand it, Tien said, scratching his head. Launch stood opposite him. The two had just finished sparring. The rate you're improving at, it just isn't incredible. It should be impossible. Launch shrugged. That's a good thing, isn't it? Yeah, but it's just weird. It shouldn't be possible for somebody to increase their ki this much with 2 years training. He frowned. Sorry, but this is something that's been on my mind a lot recently. He sat down on the rocky ground, patting the earth in front of him. Could you sit here, please? I need to know. She sat facing him, puzzled. What are you going to do? Just meditating. He replied, his voice unnaturally flat. His two normal eyes were closed, but the third on his forehead remained open. He took in slow, deep breaths, easily slipping into a meditative stance. Relax, he instructed her. Don't power up exactly, just let your energy be there, flowing through you. She nodded, attempting this, and he felt out around him with his mind. Launch's ki washed over him in waves. Yes, there is something strange about it. I can't quite put my finger on it, though. Launch gulped. She'd known the martial artist a while, but the way his third eye glared at her as he sat in silence was eerie in the extreme. She shut her eyes, focusing on keeping the flow of her energy steady. There, Tien nodded. I've got it, he said quietly. Your energy, it feels like two people, sort of. They're connected, feeding off each other. Launch sat back, stretching, though Tien didn't move. So you think I was two people for a long time? She left the question unfinished. I think you were right when you said you were probably originally one person, Tien replied. Being split, having that fluke in your DNA activated by whatever trauma it was that usually causes multiple personalities. For you, the split was much deeper. I think your soul was split in two. Launch smiled. You think souls exist? Of course they do. I've seen them. His eyes opened. I've been dead, remember? Oh, right. Anyway, he continued, I guess that being split for so many years forced both fragments to exist on their own. Eventually they healed. Each grew into a full soul, and one inhabited your body at a time. She shuffled slightly closer, intrigued. So, when I rejoined, most of the elements of ki are tied to the soul. You don't see rocks throwing beam attacks, he said. And within you, 2 full souls fused into something. Something, I think, greater than the sum of its parts. You're certainly not just twice as strong as I'd expect. It's much greater than that. You said before that you feel like you're getting closer and closer to human limits, she remembered. And as you get stronger, you improve slower. Do you think I'll have the same limits or not? I don't know, he admitted. You, my friend, are something new. I see. Krillin and 18 had met in the morning with the other inhabitants of Kame House, Master Roshi and Oolong, and with some difficulty, eventually involving calling Goku to send a telepathic signal up to the lookout, Dende had been summoned as resident expert on the Dragon Balls. He was currently speaking. Sounds like you've had a rough time of it, 18. So, what is it you wanted? The thing is, with the time machine destroyed, there's no way to get back to the future to help, 18 explained. Maybe if Break couldn't beat this new android, Goku or somebody here could. She sniffed. I was under a lot of stress when I got back here. I'm sure if I was thinking clearly, I wouldn't have destroyed the time machine. I'm sorry. I've spoken to Bulma recently, Krillin added, and she says we're still nowhere close to developing our own time travel, so we're stuck without any link to the future. Dende rubbed his chin. He seemed more mature recently, as though he'd grown considerably taller. It wasn't just physical. Ever since the Dr. Wheelo incident, when his timely intervention had given the others the strength they needed to win, he'd been much more sure of himself. Or perhaps it was the way that as soon as he started thinking that the Earth was fine without him, another catastrophe had arisen, reminding him that danger was never far away, and anyone might be called upon to make a crucial difference. So I'm guessing you want to know if the Dragon Balls, or any other kind of magical help I can provide, can help? That's about the long and short of it, Roshi agreed. Too much of the long, not enough of the short if you ask me, Oolong chipped in. What kind of time do you call this? I've barely gotten 10 hours sleep. Hush now, Roshi tutted, slightly shoving the sarcastic pig away. If sleeping means that much to you, go back to bed. And miss everything that's going on? No, sir. Well, that's very noble of you. I'm sure we all want to help this poor girl out. He slyly raised a hand over towards 18's back, then tried to sly it lower. Provide comfort in a difficult... She casually punched him to the floor, shaking her head. Dende tried to set the conversation back on course. Anyway, I'm afraid I don't think I can help you there. I've studied this a lot, actually, and I think the only reason Purunga was able to make a wish affecting another timeline at all was because we had a time machine with us to act as a link. There may have even been some adverse side effects in any case. It's extremely unlikely that it worked perfectly. So you're saying the Dragon Balls can't help us get to the other timeline? Krillin asked. I'm afraid so, Dende said morosely. I'm sorry. And there's no other kind of Namekian magic that could... I assure you, Krillin, if we could travel through time, you'd know about it by now. It simply isn't possible by any means we have. 18, I guess you'll have to stay in this time. There aren't really any other options. I understand, the android replied softly. I can search the planet for a good place for you to live, if you like, the young Namekian offered. No thank you, she said, taking a step closer to Krillin. I'm happy here for now. Maybe soon I'll start thinking about my future, but I'm still trying to get over everything that's happened. I don't really think I can make any long-term decisions, and... It's quiet here. Peaceful. She gazed around the small island, her field of vision finally settling on the small fighter beside her. I think it's about the best place for me right now. Time passed. Too quickly for some. Gohan's nightmares, visions, came and went. He knew it would make sense to talk to somebody about them, but somehow he couldn't. And he could never make out anything coherent, nothing more than a vague sense of danger. The signs came and went. One day he woke up to find tiny M's drawn on the foreheads of every person on every poster on his walls. He threw them all away, told his mother he wanted to redecorate his room. Another time he'd awakened to find a book that he'd had since he was a small child, My Little Book of Monsters, was lying open on his floor. Every monster within had been colored pink. and their eyes had been filled in with pen, becoming solid, haunting black slits. That went in the trash too, though in that case he'd been meaning to get rid of it for ages. The signal, it seemed, had passed from Bulma to him, and the spiritually aware mind was certainly more receptive to it than hers had been, which was not necessarily a good thing. Bulma, for her part, was busy as ever. She did have a main project going. She had it going for years now. And of course, she told herself she would finish it. Eventually, once she'd taken another look at the time machine drive prototype, if that wasn't too strong a word, she had no idea if they'd ever manage time travel, helped her father with his genetically modified miniature dinosaurs, reworked the blueprints for the new model capsules, supposed to be able to hold ever larger objects in the same tiny container. They were currently working, without much success, on an entire block of flats, and so on. Actually, it was very rare these days that she ever thought about that project she started a year ago. Wait, wasn't it 2 years? Or more? One day, she looked up and realized it was 6 years. She knew this for a fact because she circled every year on her calendars, the day that would have signaled the numbers, which she didn't write anymore since the incident with Goku's mind reading, dropping lower. Today, 2 would have changed to 1. She didn't have time to worry about this, however, before her mother walked in. "Bulma, honey, you really need to look at this." "Not now, Mom, I'm kind of... Just quickly go look at the TV, dear, will you?" Bulma sighed. All right, but if it's another cute baby animal on a wildlife..." She trailed off. A worried-looking reporter was looking into the camera. "With terror in the streets! I repeat, these reports are coming in from all over the world! It seems this invasion has struck everywhere at once! The military's response is expected soon, but it appears these attackers, thousands of them, are using the same key powers as Cell. If anyone who can help is listening, the people who saved the Earth before, we need you now! There was a bright flash behind him. Then the camera feed cut out in a burst of static. The TV cut back to the news studio. "Mr. Firecracker!" The presenter shouted, alarmed. "Jimmy! Is he..." "I'm sorry." He rushed out of his seat, fleeing the studio. "I've got to go home to my family!" The camera wobbled and tilted, then the channel went dead. Bulma grabbed her mother by the shoulders. "Nail! Yamcha! Zarbon! Kuriza! Where are they?" "Well, Nail's already gone. He said he felt something, and he took Kuriza with him. The other 2 are still asleep." "Well, wake them up and get their asses out there!" Bulma ran out of the room, down the corridor. Trunks, her 7-year-old son, peeked his head out of the door. "Mom, is everything alright?" Shush." She crouched down, hugging him close. "Yes, it's fine. Your dad'll be out for a while. It's fine." What the hell's going on here? Earlier that day. "Look, are you sure I shouldn't hide my tail?" Gohan was asking Videl as they approached the school gates. "I mean, I've done it before, it's no big deal." Time had changed the young pair, not just in height and physical appearance, but in bearing too. Gohan had always seemed awkward and unsure of himself as a child. At 18, he had a newfound confidence, though there was always the sense of something withdrawn, lurking beneath the surface. Videl had lost her sense of separation from the other fighters, the feeling of being from a different world. It had been replaced by an easy comradeship. "Look, it's fine," she was saying. "Over the last few decades, the world's woken up to the fact that there's a lot of weirdness going on and we're just going to have to accept it. Not even counting the aliens, your friends include a pig, a cat and a guy with 3 eyes, our king is a dog, and I'm pretty sure one boy in our class is a werewolf. A little thing like a tail isn't going to bother anybody." She shrugged. "People might mention it, but no more than they notice a new hairstyle." "Alright, if you say so. Besides, I like it." She ruffled his untidy hair. "It's part of what makes you, you know, you. It wouldn't be fair to hide that, eh?" "I guess." Gohan wiped his forehead. "Of all the things I've faced in my life, I don't think any of them have frightened me nearly as much as high school." "You'll be fine," she reassured him. "You may have been homeschooled, but it's not like you've never experienced any social activity before. You'll get used to it." "I hope so." Gohan shyly made his way from the door to the teacher's desk. "Now, class, I'd like you all to meet our new student, She glanced back at the register, noticing the somewhat archaic family name. "Son Gohan. Please make him feel welcome." Hi, everybody. A sudden key spike registered on his senses, as if he'd just been hit with a sledgehammer. He looked up at Videl, sitting in the middle of the classroom. She looked tense and on edge. She saw him looking, nodded slightly. She'd sensed it too. He stammered. "I forgot something. Sorry, I'll be right back." He rushed out of the classroom. Videl appeared next to him in the corridor, having left in a burst of super speed while everyone's attention was on Gohan. "What's going on?" I'm sensing hundreds of power levels, she hissed. I don't know, he said as they left the building, lifting off. But a group of them are heading straight for us. Hold on. He took out a capsule containing his orange fighting uniform, surrounding himself in a solid energy wall. Inside, he opened the capsule, changed his super speed, put his school uniform back in the capsule, pocketed it, then lowered the capsule. All this happened so fast as to be a quick flash of light to Videl. Right. Shall we? Shall we what? She asked, folding her arms. He didn't have an answer. They hovered silently over the city for a minute or two, following the approaching key signals as they came closer. Hey guys! Called a voice. Gohan turned, smiling. Dad! Good to see you. Hey Goku. Videl waved. The spiky-haired Saiyan laughed, descending through the air to meet them. I'm glad you're both alright. I felt all these weird powers appear all of a sudden, and I figured I'd come to see if you were okay. They turned their eyes up to the sky, watching the incoming wave of flying figures. Just who are they? Videl wondered. Gohan scowled. I don't know. There sure are a lot of them. Goku rubbed his chin thoughtfully. Some of them, their key feels familiar. Almost like... No, couldn't be. What? Never mind. Videl pointed away from the city. I'm sensing another group. Only a few, but each pretty strong. Heading towards South City, but none of our people are there to intercept. Got it. Goku faced south, lighting up his aura. Can you guys handle here? I'll cover it. Yeah, we're okay. Gohan watched his father go, then turned back to the approaching group. They've almost reached the city. Ready? I don't know. Videl gulped, squeezing his hand. There's some pretty big power levels in there. Just stay behind me, and don't take on anybody you can't handle. Now, let's go! They quickly flew down to a nearby office block, landing on the roof. The first few attackers got close enough to see. Hold on, Dad was right! His eyes widened in disbelief. Am I dreaming, or is that... 5 figures landed opposite them, striking flamboyant poses. Out of the many enemies Gohan encountered throughout his fighting career, these ones had a way of sticking in the memory. Sound off, men! Rikum! Dodo! Dice! Bata! Captain Ginyu! And together we are the all-conquering Ginyu Force! They chorused. Videl rubbed her eyes. Are they for real? Gohan sighed. Afraid so. Right, men! Captain Ginyu ordered. Spread out! Time to claim this planet in the name of Lord Frieza! Yeah, about that. Gohan stepped forwards. You probably don't remember me. I look completely different for one thing. But I fought you on Namek. How the hell'd you get here? Nice choice of words. Hell's open, mate. Water's fine. Jace laughed. It's a bloody free-for-all. In which case, we got more to worry about than these idiots. Before the Ginyu Force could react to the insult, he threw his arms out to both sides. Hyah! His ki spread out in front of him and to his sides, blasting the Ginyu Force clean off the building, but leaving Videl behind him untouched. If all our past enemies are going to show up, many of them will be too much for you, he said to Videl. I don't think it's safe here. It's not safe anywhere, Gohan, she pointed out. All hell's broken loose. Right. He spotted a squadron of fighter planes swooping towards the city from the east. Tanks rolled in underneath. Hey, is that the Red Ribbon Army? He noticed the RR insignia on one of the planes. So it is. My dad stopped them when he was a kid. You want to go take care of them? Okay. She took off, heading east. I think I can handle a few guns. Which leaves me free to go all out without having to protect her. Gohan thought as the main swarm of flying underworld escapees closed in on the city. Well, here goes! Goku made it to South City just in time. An energy beam from the first attacker sliced the top 20 stories off an office building. He flew up to intercept, catching it, slowing its descent and setting it down in the street. You know, he said, his usual carefree nature leaving him. I was going to try talking to you, but I don't tolerate attacking innocent people. So if you've come looking for a fight, I'm right here. 3 figures, one tall, one short, and one massive, landed behind him. Came a familiar voice. Leave it to a Saiyan to spoil my fun. Wait. Goku turned to face them. Frieza? The long-dead Frost Demon stood in front of him, flanked by his brother and father. Calm down, Frieza. We're not here to play around, Cooler said, shaking his head. I've had about enough of you, Frieza snapped. Children! Cold warned. Quiet. We're ignoring our friend here, it's very rude. Alright, what do you want here? Goku demanded, then stopped. Wait, no. I don't care. He sped forwards, elbowing Cooler in the face and kicking Frieza in the stomach. Both collapsed instantly, gasping with shock. I see, Cold nodded. You have quite an impressive power. Are you one of these Super Saiyans? Goku grinned. I guess you could say that. Well, I dare say I'd be no match for you. In this, my second form anyway. Do you know, not once in my life have I ever had the opportunity to use my full power. Many tried to guess at its magnitude. They were all wrong. Okay, Goku said. Let's see it. General Ripper lowered his binoculars. I wouldn't have believed if I hadn't seen it myself. Commander! Yes, sir? Ripper's fellow officers sidled up to him, climbing up onto the general's command tank. Take a look. He handed her the binoculars. Now, is that, or is that not, the dictator? Commander Karander blinked a couple of times, rubbed her eyes, looked back into the binoculars. Flag? Yes. Mustache? Yes. Army several thousand strong, with equipment over 50 years old? I'd say it is. Ripper pounded his tank with his fist. In that case, our objective is clear. War Directive number 27. The complete obliteration of the dictator and all his fighting forces. But, sir, that was decades ago. Shouldn't we wait for orders? Decades ago? Ripper snorted. So? If that lot are over there, our mission is not complete and the war is not over. He spoke into his radio. All right, troops. We're now at war. Or it's still at war anyway. Enemy equipment is 50 years out of date. We will not be at war for long. Royal Army, fire at will! It was indeed a short battle. The dictator's army was woefully outmatched by the modern military and was utterly decimated by artillery bombardment and mass tank charges before most of its weapons were even in range. Battle became rout, became annihilation. However, there seemed to be some disruption at the end of the Royal Army's battle line. A small figure was leaping from squadron to squadron, hurling tanks in the air, smashing gun mounts, and firing energy beams that wiped out whole squads at a time. Small arms fire had no effect, and larger ordnance was dodged effortlessly. What the hell is that thing? Karander muttered. Looks like one of those key monsters, Ripper decided. Retreat! Full retreat! The creature skidded to a halt in front of him, chittering and hissing. It was only a couple feet tall with green, scaly skin and a brain-like pattern on its head. Tiny claws clacked together on the end of its stubby limbs. It raised its arm, building energy, and was promptly interrupted by 6 feet of afro, ego, and mano a mano. Yeah! Hercule shouted, dancing around the confused Cyberman. How do you like my dynamic mess-em-up punch? New and improved! He somersaulted away, striking a movie kung fu pose. Alright, you want some? Leave those soldiers alone and try taking on a real fighter! The Cyberman just stared. Strong silent type, huh? Hercule bellowed. Well, you're gonna pay for what you've done! Prepare for my ultimate technique! Really gotta thank Videl for all this someday. He swept his hands around dramatically. Kamehameha! A bright blue energy beam burst forth from his palms, lancing straight at the Cyberman, which swung a hand around, deflecting the beam effortlessly. Hercule gaped. What just... Grinning, the Cyberman leapt forwards, its head splitting open and launching a stream of acid. Hercule was only saved by a nail appearing between them, quickly throwing up a key shield and letting the acid deflect harmlessly off it. He fired a small energy beam from 2 fingers, disintegrating the Cyberman without giving it a chance to self-destruct. Hey, don't feel too bad, champ, he said, smiling at Hercule. That thing was far more powerful than, say, King Piccolo. Without another word, the warrior Namek took off, heading for the closest evil key signal. But if... Hercule tried to make sense of things. Then how in the world did that guy kill it so easy? And just who was that anyway? Videl was having a harder time than she'd imagined. True, she could at this point dodge incoming gunfire pretty handedly, but the Red Ribbon Army was fairly large, and trying to keep up with all of their lines of attack by land and air, and stop any of them from getting into the city to wreak havoc, that wasn't easy. She kicked through a glass cockpit of a plane, pulling the eject lever and sending the pilot flying, then flew down, blasting the treads off a tank. A muscular blonde officer leapt at her, but she deflected him with a quick punch to the face. Hey, was that General Blue? Goku mentioned him. A few soldiers were almost at the city outskirts, and she raced off to intercept. Had to happen today, didn't it? Goku lowered his hands in front of his face, at the same time relaxing the ki shield he'd been using to protect the surrounding city from the waves of ki rolling out of King Cold's body. The Frost Demon Tyrant now stood fully revealed in his 4th form, blank white skin dotted with gleaming dark purple diamond-like highlights. Well, Primate, Cold said gleefully, over 3 meters tall. He towered above his sane opponent. What do you think of my final form? My true power? Impressive, Goku said, nodding. In fact, Cold's fist crashed into his chest, launching him back through a nearby house, collapsing it on top of him. As I thought, Cold said, grinning. Can't handle a real opponent. Barely had the words left his mouth when something stirred in the rubble. Hey, Goku said, levitating the wreckage off him and carrying the two occupants of the house from the ruin, one under each arm. I was complimenting you. That was pretty low. He set the shell-shocked couple down, turning back to Cold. My turn now. This is surreal, Gohan thought. All these old enemies. He'd already taken out several dozen of Frieza's soldiers, some demonic-looking creatures he hadn't been able to identify, some of Turles' henchmen, a few Cybermen, and even a couple of the mutant Namekian spawn that the original King Piccolo had created. Finally, there seemed to be just one left, unmoving, waiting for him high above the city. Quite a high power level, too. Warily, Gohan rose up above the lowest level of clouds, spotting a familiar figure. I thought I recognized the energy. Turles. I knew you'd show up sooner or later, but all the way up here, he smirked. I guess scum always rises to the top. Funny, Turles sneered. You've grown up, little boy, but I know it's you. You're going to pay for what you did to me. Why don't you make me? Gohan turned Super Saiyan, charging in and punching straight at the center of Turles' face. But the evil Saiyan caught it. A strange change began to come over his ki. An eerily familiar light flashed into his eyes. You may have beaten me before, but I'd like to see you try now! On that word, the golden aura burst to life around him. Gohan gasped, the wave of power throwing him back. How? What? Surprised? Turles asked, grinning. Don't be. All those fruit from the Tree of Might, especially that last one before you killed me. Even I was surprised when it gave me the power to beat your Super Saiyan form. Turns out, thanks to the fruit, I was already in the early stages of transforming myself. He raised his fists. So now we're both Super Saiyans. Only I've eaten of the Tree of Might's fruit. So I'd say the advantage is mine. Not quite. Gohan grinned right back at Turles. You may have unnaturally boosted your power by a huge amount, but you're still only in the first unrefined stage of Super Saiyan. I've trained this form, mastered it. I'm a lot stronger than when I first transformed. They both powered up, whipping the clouds around them into a storm. Their auras expanded to several hundred feet in diameter, clashing together between them and throwing out uncontrolled sparks of energy. Alright, Turles said. You've got me interested. He cracked his knuckles. Let's see who's stronger. The afterlife. Pikkon approached the top of the mountain, where the one he sought was meditating. Hello? He said hesitantly. I'm here, came a voice in the mist. I know, came the reply. I've seen the problem. A rift between hell and earth. It's not just Earth, Pikkon told him. It's every planet, everywhere. Earth's only under attack by the villains that have a grudge against it. People like Bojack are rampaging through the stars as we speak. Can't have that. What can we do about it? Pikkon smiled grimly. We're in luck there. The Kais have isolated the source of the breach. It's down in hell. They want us to go check it out, see if there's anybody causing this that needs taken care of. Excellent. Let's go. A figure stirred in the mist. You don't think we should gather some more fighters first? Pikkon asked. Olibu or someone? No, I'm sure we can handle it. We're confident today, aren't we? Raditz emerged, replacing the Z-sword into the scabbard on his back. Why not? I haven't had a good fight in years. Well, what do you know? Another cliffhanger. Raditz is back, with Pikkon, in the afterlife, which can only mean one thing. Fusion Reborn is getting retold this arc. But what about the future? What's happening with the new androids that Break encountered? And how will the Fusion Reborn arc play out, with Raditz in the afterlife instead of Goku? Will Vegeta come back? Well, there's only one way to find out. Tune in next week for the beginning of Fusion Reborn, as well as another trip to the future. Anyway, that's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. Tell your friends. Follow me on Twitter to keep up to date with the show. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Stay safe. Ginger Powers, signing off.